You're sitting at a desk right now, or you're lying in bed thinking about tomorrow, or you're on a commute, already dreading what is waiting for you when you arrive. And somewhere in the background of your mind, there is a low hum. Not loud, not a crisis, just a hum. A vague, persistent sense that there is too much to do, that you are behind, that something is being left undone, that you should be working harder or smarter or longer. That feeling has a name. We call it stress. And here is the question that researchers have been asking for the last 50 years. Did ancient humans feel it too? The answer is not what you expect, and it has something important to say about the way you're living right now. Let's start with what stress actually is, not the word, the biology. When your body detects a threat, any threat, it releases a cascade of hormones. Cortisol, adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, your muscles tighten, your senses sharpen. Your digestion slows, your immune system shifts into standby. This is called the fight-or-flight response, and it is one of the most ancient and effective survival systems in the history of life on Earth. It works like this. A lion appears on the savannah. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. You run, or you fight. The lion chases you. The chase lasts 90 seconds. You escape. You hide behind a rock, breathing hard. And then, over the next 20 or 30 minutes, your body chemistry returns to baseline. The cortisol clears. Your heart rate drops. Your muscles unclench. The lion is gone. Your body knows the lion is gone. And your system resets. This is what stress was designed for. Short, intense, physical, resolved. Your body is extraordinarily good at handling this kind of stress. It evolved to handle it. 290,000 years of humans facing predators, rival groups, sudden storms, injuries. All of it selected for a stress response that activates fast, performs brilliantly, and then shuts off completely. Ancient humans were stressed, genuinely, seriously, acutely stressed. The evidence is in their bones, their teeth, their cortisol records preserved in ancient hair samples. They experienced stress at a high intensity, but they experienced it differently than you do. Here is the difference. In 2008, anthropologist Emily Webb and her colleagues at the University of Western Ontario measured cortisol levels in hair samples from Peruvians who had lived between 550 and 1532 AD. They found that these ancient humans had higher average cortisol levels than most people living today. Higher, not lower. Ancient humans were more stressed in one very specific sense. Their acute stress events were more intense, more frequent, more physically real. Being chased by a predator is more stressful in the immediate moment than missing a deadline. But here is what the research consistently shows. It was over. The lion went away. The hunt ended. The confrontation with a rival group resolved, one way or another. The storm passed. The stress system activated, did its job, and then shut down. What ancient humans did not have was chronic stress, the kind of stress that never turns off, the kind that hums. Researchers at the University of Zurich and Loughborough University published a study in late 2025 arguing that humans may be biologically unequipped to handle the pace and pressure of modern life. Their argument is simple and backed by a growing body of evidence. We evolved our stress response for acute threats in a physical world. That stress system has not changed in hundreds of thousands of years, but the threats have. They are no longer lions. They are emails, deadlines, mortgages, performance reviews, social media, the news. The sense that you're supposed to be doing more, being more, earning more, achieving more. These threats never go away. There is no moment when the email lion has been outrun and your cortisol returns to baseline. The emails come back tomorrow. The deadline becomes the next deadline. The mortgage payment repeats. The performance review leads to another performance review. Your stress system was built for a world where threats were real, immediate, physical, and finite. You're living in a world where threats are abstract, persistent, invisible, and never fully resolved. And your body does not know the difference. Your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats, cannot distinguish between a predator and a passive-aggressive email from your manager. It treats both as emergencies. It floods your system with cortisol for both. The difference is that after the predator, the cortisol clears. After the email, another one arrives. Researchers call this a delayed return environment. You do almost nothing in modern life that has an immediate, visible, physical result. You work for a salary you receive at the end of the month. You invest in a career whose payoff is years away. You diet for results that may appear in 6 months. You study for credentials that pay off in a decade. Ancient humans lived almost entirely in an immediate return environment. They hunted and ate. They gathered and ate. They built a shelter and slept in it. The result of every effort was immediate, visible, and physically real. This is not romanticism. This is neuroscience. The human brain developed its reward and stress systems in an immediate return world. When you move a modern human into a delayed return world, where almost every action has an abstract, delayed, uncertain payoff, those systems do not function the way they were designed to function. They malfunction. Which brings us to the Hadza. The Hadza are one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. They live in northern Tanzania. Researchers have studied them extensively for decades. Their diet, their sleep, their social structures, their movement, their health, and their stress. In 2023, researchers published a study in Scientific Reports analyzing hair cortisol concentrations among Hadza men. They were looking for the relationship between social status and stress, the connection that is so consistent in modern industrialized societies that it is almost taken for granted. Higher status equals lower stress. Lower status equals higher stress. That is what we find in offices, in schools, in cities everywhere. Among the Hadza, the relationship did not exist. Social status, whether measured by hunting reputation or by popularity, had no significant association with cortisol levels among Hadza men. The same finding was replicated in a subsequent study of Hadza women, published in 2023, looking at foraging reputation and popularity. Again, no significant relationship between status and stress. In an egalitarian society with no hierarchy of wealth, no career ladder, no performance review, no mortgage, the status anxiety that is one of the primary drivers of chronic stress in modern life simply does not operate. This does not mean Hadza life is without stress. It is not. Acute stressors are real. Predators exist. Illness happens. Conflicts occur. Food can be scarce. But the chronic low-grade hum, the background anxiety of modern professional life, appears to be largely absent. And here is why this matters. Chronic stress is not just unpleasant, it is physiologically damaging in ways that acute stress is not. Cortisol is designed to be in your system briefly. A burst, a response, a clearance. When cortisol remains elevated for days, weeks, months, which is what chronic stress produces, it begins to damage the systems it was designed to protect. Chronic elevated cortisol shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. It suppresses the immune system. It promotes inflammation. It disrupts sleep. It increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, and anxiety disorders. The lion was never supposed to stay. When the lion stays, when the threat never fully resolves, the same system that kept your ancestors alive begins to slowly destroy the body from the inside. Now let's talk about work specifically, because the question this video is exploring is about work stress, whether ancient humans were more or less stressed about the work of survival. And the honest answer requires holding two things at the same time. Yes, ancient humans faced more dangerous, more physically intense, more immediately life-threatening situations than most modern workers face. And yes, the chronic background stress of modern professional life, the hum, appears to be largely a modern invention. The anthropologist Marshall Sahlins famously argued in 1966 that hunter-gatherers were the original affluent society. His data, gathered from studies of the Tjotkung San of the Kalahari and the Arnhem Landers of Australia, suggested that hunter-gatherers met their survival needs with roughly 15 to 20 hours of work per week. This figure has been debated, criticized, challenged. The debate continues, but the underlying point, that the ancient relationship to work was fundamentally different from the modern one, has held up. Hunter-gatherers did not have careers. They did not have a concept of professional advancement. They did not compete for promotions or worry about being made redundant. They did not take their work home in their heads because there was no separation between work and life to take across. The work of survival was embedded in the social life of the group. Hunting was a social activity. Gathering was a social activity. Tool-making was learned in community. Food was shared. The work had an immediate, visible result. We hunted, we ate, and then it was done. There was no inbox. There was no performance review. There was no Monday morning. Now, and this is important, this does not mean ancient life was better. It was not a paradise. Child mortality was high. Injuries were often fatal. Violence between groups was real. The acute stressors of ancient life were genuinely terrible in ways that a missed deadline simply is not. But they were finite. A 2025 study by evolutionary anthropologists Colin Shaw and Daniel Longman argued that the mismatch between our evolved stress system and the demands of modern industrialized life is producing measurable biological harm. Declining fertility, chronic inflammation, reduced sperm counts, rising rates of anxiety and depression. Their key finding is not that modern life is more dangerous than ancient life. It is that modern life produces a kind of stress that our bodies were never designed to sustain. The lion was supposed to go away, and it never does. So here is what I want to leave you with. The hum you feel, the background anxiety, the sense of always being slightly behind, the low-grade dread that follows you into the weekend and wakes you up at 3 in the morning, is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is not ingratitude for the comparative comfort of your life. It is a biological system encountering an environment it was never designed for. Your stress response is working exactly as it was built to work. It is scanning for threats. It is finding them. It is flooding your system with cortisol. The problem is the threats do not resolve. Ancient humans were stressed, often intensely, sometimes fatally, but their bodies got to rest between the threats. Yours is not getting that rest. That is not a personal failing. That is an evolutionary mismatch. And knowing that, understanding why the hum is there, is the first step toward doing something about it. The lion was supposed to go away, and sometimes the most important thing you can do is find a way to make it.